Another exciting edition of Sports Central, brought to you live and exclusive to Spectrum Television, with a whole lot of topical issues emanating from the world of sports to look at this morning. And the build up to the Wimbledon in the world of lawn tennis, some top level competitions are still up and running. Talk about the one in the Hamburg Open, especially the WTA tour level competition. Former world number one Igor Swiatek still waxing strong, looking forward to and the competition on a high, setting the momentum and the pace ahead of the Wimbledon. We'll also take a look at what's also happening at the ATP category as well, as we talk about some top-level competitions over there. We'll look at the FIFA Club World Cup, which has been a predominant talking point in the last couple of weeks. While Chelsea yesterday found their way qualifying to the last 16 of the FIFA Club World Cup. We'll take a look at teams who have been eliminated. One of such teams, like we mentioned yesterday, Atletico Madrid. But more teams were eliminated yesterday. I will also take a look at it as well. Transfer news, not an exception this morning. Some players still looking forward to leave their respective football clubs. I will also bring it forward to you as well. I am Mutabe David, delighted as always to return. But before we talk about all of the stories extensively and deliberate on it, let's first of all bring you up to speed with some big development making rounds in the exciting world of sports. Welcome once again. Well, from the world of cricket this morning, Nigeria's male senior cricket team, the Yellow Greens, on Tuesday resumed camping in Lagos ahead of the qualifiers for the 2026 Men's T20 World Cup and the 2025 ILT T20 Cup. The qualifiers will be held in Zimbabwe from September 28 to October 4, while the World Cup is billed for India and Sri Lanka between February and March 2026. They will also play the ILT20 Cup from July 13 to 30 in Uganda. Head coach and high performance manager of the Nigeria Cricket Federation, Steve Tikolo, invited 21 players to camp for the assignment. Captain Sylvester Okpe is joined by some regular players, including wicket-keeper Sulaimon Runsewe, Isaac Danladi, as well as Daniel Ajekun, Ridwan Karim, Peter Aho, Isaac Okpe, Chimele Odekwe, and Prosper Oseni. Nigeria will battle Namibia, Kenya, Malawi, Uganda, Zimbabwe, Tanzania, and Botswana in the final of the qualifiers in Zimbabwe. Away from that to the Athletics Federation of Nigeria has officially announced the dates for the national trials ahead of the Confederation of African Athletics Under-18 and Under-20 Championships, with the event set to take place from June 30 to July 1st at the Gateway International Stadium in Shagamu, Ogun State. The trials will serve as the final selection process to determine the country's representatives for the Continental Championships scheduled for July 16 to 20 at the MCO Abiola Stadium in Abeokuta. The competition will bring together over 80 young athletes from more than 50 countries across Africa, according to the CAA. Athletes competing in the under-18 and under 20 categories will battle across various track and field events, including sprints, middle and long distance races, hurdles, jumps, throws, and relays. Following the trials, successful athletes will be invited into a national training camp where preparations will intensify ahead of the Continental Championships. We're still talking about the track and field event. World record holder Toby Amusen continued their preparations for the forthcoming World Athletics Championships in style as she eased to victory in the women's 100-meter hurdles event at the Golden Spike Meet in Ostrava, Czechia yesterday. The 28-year-old who became into the event off the back of an impressive outing at the Paris Diamond League last weekend showed why she was deemed the favorite by cruising to an easy victory as she crossed line in first place in a time of 12.45 seconds ahead of Slovakia's Victoria Foster, who came second in the season's best time of 12.74 seconds, while Sarah Lavin of Ireland came third, having set the season's best time of 12.76 seconds. It was Amusen's second win in the hurdles this season. She won the Rabat Diamond League in May, setting a new meet record of 12.45 seconds. She also clocked the season's best time of 12.24 seconds to finish second at the Paris Diamond League last Friday. Swiatek beats Azarenka in Bad Homburg for 300th career win. Egefiantek scored first win of the grass court season at the Bad Homburg Open on Tuesday by topping Victoria Azarenka in straight sets 6-love, 6-love. Competing for the first time in nearly 3 weeks since the 26-March Roland Garros winning streak ended at the hands of Arina Zabalenka in the semi-finals, the fourth seed rallied from a 4-1 deficit in the opening set to beat Azarenka for the fifth straight time. The win was also notable in that it was the 300th level match win of Swiatek's career. Swiatek will face the winner of Wednesday's second-round match between number 8 seed Ekaterina Alexandrova and wildcat Mario Sakkari in the quarterfinals. Well, finally now from the world of football, Liam Delap's first Chelsea's goal helped the club side reach round of 16. Goals from Tosin Adarabioyo, Liam Delap and Tariq George saw Chelsea's second-string side secure a place in the round of 16 at the Club World Cup with a 3-0 victory over Esperance de Tunis in their final Group D match on Tuesday. Group winners Flamengo were held 1-1 by LAFC to finish on 7 points, one ahead of Chelsea. Esperance finished third with 3 points, while LAFC were bottom with 1 point. Chelsea next face Group C winners Benfica on Saturday at the Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte, while Flamengo take on Bayern Munich, Group C runners-up, in Miami later on Sunday. But that's all we have for you in Sports Wrap-Up at this time. We'll take a very short break. We'll return, and the guys will join the conversation extensively. We'll talk about all of the stories and much more. Do stay with us.
depth of knowledge, fun, and entertainment you experience on Spectrum Television can never be overstated, especially when you get them all at once. At Spectrum Television, we start your day with insightful political and social discussion, a spotlight on Africa and the world's view. On well-being, we prioritize your health and mental space, staying fit and achieving goals. Stay updated with the business world, financial markets, and global economic analysis. We bring you all the latest from the world of sports and cutting-edge innovations, looking at the future of tech on Tech Insight. And stay updated with the latest in entertainment and music on Entertainment Now. People don't really know you. Our carefully crafted content is designed to broaden your horizons and keep you informed and entertained. You won't want to miss a minute. Killer, shower you with all my attention. Yeah, these are my only intentions. Watch Spectrum Television live on free-to-air. Scan your decoder to continue receiving the best of our signals or stream live at www.spectrumtvlive.ng. For more inquiries, call 0704 158 5642. Don't let this love hold you down. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
Hello, good morning, and welcome to the exciting moments where we talk about the best of stories in the world of sports. It is Sports Central, and my name is Blyden Kim. Exciting times ahead. A multiple conversation in recent times has been built around the Club World Cup. We're getting to that stage where we know who's facing who at the next round of it. Yesterday, we saw some penultimate encounters, one of it being the Auckland City Football Club, the amateur team that's made its round at the World Cup. They somehow stopped Boca Junior, ending a draw, 1-1 draw against Boca Junior, and Argentine giant in that direction. The coach was quite happy about it. And this is what the Club World Cup is all about. We saw some teams also faltering their lines up, qualifying for the next round. What we're talking about, the indices around, and what we're expecting in the next round. In the world of tennis, preparation is top gear. Everyone is thinking and looking towards Wimbledon. And that's why we're having the likes of Yannick Sinner and some of the big superstars, Arena Sabalenka, training together. Looking at Wimbledon, it would be a conversation in the world of transfers and making rounds, big talking point. Meanwhile, Chelsea Football Club won that game next, and double facing Benfica moving forward. Well, Mr. David, good morning. So good to see you today. And Fanitina, a good morning. What stood out for you, Fanitina, from yesterday?
Well, not really yesterday, but at least in the early hours of today, Paris FC announced Moses Simon as a new player on a 3-year contract. I think it's a good switch for Moses Simon, moving from Nantes, where he was a pivotal figure for them, helping them to escape relegation for 2 seasons now in a row. Let's see what he's going to be able to do for Paris FC.
What about David?
Well, I'd like to return. It has to do with Chelsea. A must-win game for them. It was yesterday, and they were able to get that job done. Now to the last 16, it becomes even more tougher now because Benfica. Many didn't see, of course, Benfica getting the better of the opponents, the quality of the opponent yesterday. So Chelsea, they have to prepare better for the last 16.
Preparation is always going to be underway for some of the sides, and similarly, Super Falcons would be preparing. It would be such a conversation today, a full plate we have for you. Let's begin looking at the world of tennis at the Bad Homburg encounter. We're talking about the Open in that direction, and Navarro getting the better. Former world number one Naomi Osaka in this one, sitting a meeting with top seed Jessica Pegula, number 5 seed from the United States. It's into her third straight Bath Homburg Open quarterfinals, a 6-4, 6-4 victory in this regard. From Fanitina, not surprising to talk about when you talk about Naomi Osaka, former world number one, since returning from maternity leave. It's not really added up for her the way many people expected. 4-time Grand Slam champion, but she was beaten in this one by the number 5 seed in this one.
Well, definitely, Emma Navarro currently, ahead of Naomi Osaka in the rankings and everything.
Yeah, world number 10.
You wouldn't call that much of an upset because currently, I think if Osaka defeated Navarro, that's where we would have the upset. So for Navarro, a good job done for her. Now she has to face Jessica Pegula, who is also ahead of her. So now she has to face, a higher opponent, an opponent with much more quality. Now talking about Jessica Pegula, and I just want to see how she can, find her balance when facing a top seeded player like Jessica Pegula, who is also, I think she's won a couple top level competitions this year already, and this is going to be her third if she gets to win this one. So Emma Navarro has a work cut out for her.
Emma Navarro has a work cut out for her. To David, let's also talk about Jessica Pegula in this one. It would now be a battle between two Americans. Jessica Pegula is a top American in the world of tennis, and such a cracker we're talking about. The last 2-3 times they've met, Jessica Pegula has always gotten that victory. Looking at the quarterfinals against Emma Navarro.
Well, I think it's of course the attention now is basically about the lady Jessica Pegula, getting the better of Emma Navarro in this level of competition because just last year when we were actually evaluating Jessica Pegula, we talked about the very fact that last year was her best year on tour level competitions. We saw her also raising to a career high in terms of WTA rankings, winning numerous WTA competition as well. And it didn't just end there last year. So started off from where she left last year up until now, we're still seeing some glimpse of consistency from Jessica Pegula. I mean, you can't mention US internationals in the WTA rankings and not mention Jessica Pegula. Outside Coco Gauff, I think she should be next in terms of laurels and how she's been able to do as well. So I feel she can actually get the better of Emma Navarro in this one as well, owing to the very fact that their last history in terms of heavyweight favors at the moment. But then I
They've
think
only met once, and the last time Jessica Pegula got the victory.
absolutely.
And Jessica Pegula, I don't think she's the American top player. Could be Coco Gauff being the American top
Now,
player,
that's
but
what I
Jessica
said.
Pegula is the number one seed at this competition.
Absolutely. Make mention of Coco Golf. Next name would definitely
Absolutely.
be Jessica Pegula due to what she's been able to do. But I'm not underrating Navarro in this one. We've actually seen her get the better of top opponent. Last year she got the better of Schwartzing in the tall level competition. So it definitely tells you that upsets are not ruled out, especially when it has to do with top games like this. But if you want to look at the competition, the level of quality between both sides, Pegula should definitely take this one.
Pagila should definitely take this one for the now. Let's quickly still looking at the Bad Humbug tournament that's taking place. A top player in this regard, Iga Swiatek, former world number one, beating another former world number one, Victoria Azarenka, in this one. I'm making it a 300 career win for Iga Swiatek. Not many people get a bit surprised about it. 6-4, 6-4 victory it was for Iga Swiatek. Many people expected it, defeating Victoria Azarenka in straight.
Not really been in top form since she returned to active tennis, where we saw her took that. She took a leave at points and came back, but not really been able to, hang with the best of the best. And he just found yesterday just had an easy run against her. So I would say maybe for Azarenka, she has to start from the lower ranked tournament, maybe a 500 level event, 250 level event, and maybe leave the top level event for players like Igis Swiatek, because when you are Victoria Azarenka, she has to start from the scratch once again. I don't think she has the quality to hang with the likes of Igis Swiatek as what's the name now, Arina Zabalenka. We also have Kori Kokokov. So maybe just start from that 250 tour level event, and maybe we can see how win the tournament.
And maybe we can see how in the tournament it's been 26 match winning streak for Iga Swiatek, which ended at the hands of Arena Sabalenka at the semi-finals at the fourth seed at his rally from the 4-1 deficit. Iga Swiatek had to rally in this one to get a victory against her opponent. We're talking about Azarenka for the fifth straight time. Well, quickly let's switch gears. We'll talk about other competition. And we're now looking at a tennis conversation that's taking place. Arena Sabalenka, world number one, and Yannick Sinner, world number one in the men's game. They're training together, we here ahead of Wimbledon. Well, to David, somewhat somehow, big superstars now. A male and female, world number one now. They're doing some training stuff. I hope it's not more than training.
I think it's the case of world number ones in their respective categories, training against each other. We're talking about the best in the WT and the ATP category. Both players are actually looking forward to maintain their status at the moment at the ATP and the WTA rankings. And just like Pejula said at the end of last year, she really wants to stay there as long as possible. Maybe even break the record of Iga Swiatek. You never know. It depends on our level of consistency now. So I think it's quite good that both best players in the ATP and WTA are training together. Recall last year, at some point, Yannick Sinner took Andy Murray to be his personal coach. So it definitely shows you the intention the Italian has. Same could also be said for Zabalenka in terms of preparations ahead of a big Grand Slam tournament as big as the Wimbledon. So I feel at the moment, yes, many would also look at the very fact that other players I know are playing all the top level competitions, trying to put themselves, because it's quite different to be training and with a player who's also playing active in competition. But I just feel they understand the reasons why they're not participating in all of these top level competitions, rather training and waiting for the Wimbledon. I just hope it works well for them.
And many hopes for Victoria David, world number one and world number two are training, looking forward to Wimbledon. Quite exciting, the fans enjoying it. It's that conversation. Quickly, let's talk about our conversation with the Felix Ugela Sime. Wasted little time making an impact. The game took place yesterday at the Mallorca Championship, presented by different groups in this regard. The Echoes Trans group making its debut at a grass court ATP 250 tour level event and showed his class beating and clinching 7-5, 6-3 a triumph against also a rocking Nash in that regard. And quickly also we talk about Cameron Norrie, British lucky loser Billy Harris continuing his love affair with the Lexus Eastbourne Open on Tuesday when he defeated countryman Cameron Norrie 6-4 to reach the second round. And last year Harris advanced to his maiden ATP Tour semi-final at a grass court event, defeating and then world number 40 en route. Unfortunately, now let's talk about this one. Cameron Norrie seemed like his stock has really fallen, and we're talking about a British lucky loser, Billy Harris, beating him.
Well, when you have a lucky loser beating you, you know your stocks have really fallen. Cameron Norrie at the point we're talking about him, I think 2 years ago when he was trying to hang
He
with the
was in the
best.
top 10.
Yeah, we were talking about but 2 years ago is a long time.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
last year he struggled to even make the top 15 of the ATP rankings. And he was not even in the conversation for the ATP finals towards the end of the year. So you can understand. Maybe I've not really followed his rise and his fall because it could be a case of an injury or whatnot. But at this point, I not just know that he has to find a way to grind deep and find a way to return back to form because your quality cannot just drop like that. When you have that talent, you know that it's always there. It just cannot go away like that easily. So probably the man has to find something that works for him so that he can discover that old spark about Cameron Norrie and maybe we start seeing back to form.
And maybe they start seeing him back to form. With David Cameron Norrie, you begin to wonder what's really happening for him. I remember 2022 beating Carlos Alcaraz in those tournament played. I think it was a Rio de Janeiro thereabout, and even moving forward in the top 10 in the world, people were thinking he was going to be quite phenomenal, but his career has really nosedive. If you want to talk about top players in world tennis, you don't even care to mention Cameron Norrie any longer.
It's rather unfortunate that his career has actually witnessed downward spiral in recent times, and it will definitely bear question marks as regards what actually happened to Cameron Norrie. Recall before now, we're mentioning him as British number one, basically, and of course, also in the top 10, shows you the quality of Cameron Norrie. But some point I could recall vividly well, I had some strings of injuries, but not a big excuse enough to, be losing drastically. And even when he returned back to full, force, trying to avoid those injuries, wasn't able to be that Cameron Norrie we used to know. And many would also look at the very fact that over time, it has also been a case of not really being, of course, finding that spark again, just like Ford mentioned. But I think it's not just basically about trying to find that spark. I think it's a case of British contingent not doing well. It cuts it across all of those players, aside
And
from
other
Drogba.
youngsters also coming up, becoming
Absolutely.
stronger, the likes of Yannick Sinner and the rest of them.
Absolutely. You could also recall the case of Catibot at some point was also, a top player. But what happens now? Still from British
But
contingent.
it doesn't seem to really affect Cathy Bolter, really not up there when you talk about women, some tennis definitely, but British number one. It shows
Absolutely.
how to stalk her in the British, especially when Emma Raducanu wasn't
Came up,
showing
yeah.
class and dominance. But the other conversation, you look at some of the superstars that the stock has really fallen from maybe last year or 2 years ago. Felix Ojala, not really high up there, as we talked about. Remember, he was competing to get to the year-end competition, and a few others quite concerning for them. Yeah, I know recently we've really talked about the likes of Danny Medvedev and the rest of them.
Yeah.
No problem. Let's switch gear and talk about Toby Amosun, what she's been able to achieve. Looking forward to the World Athletics Championship in style. Toby Amosun, a Nigerian superstar, cruising to a Stravio, a golden spike, a win. One fun. Let's start with you on this one. Toby Amosun, when we talk about it, early part of the year, she wasn't really participating in all of this meet, but the last month we've seen her back-to-back meets she's attended, and this particular one as Ostravio Golden Spike, she was able to get a victory after finishing second in the last one.
Well, when you look at Toby Amos, and I would say it's a story of consistency, story of drive, story of resilience. Because when you look at her, she had that accident. I think late last year or early this year, we talked
Yeah.
about that accident for her, which stopped her from participating in some competitions. But now she's back to full force. She's won the Diamond League meet in Rabat, Morocco.
Yeah,
Then
in the
went to
100
Paris.
meters hurdles
Exactly.
event.
Went to Paris and finished second. And now she won the Strava Golden Spike. So currently now she's looking forward to how to build momentum for the World Championships coming on later, because I really want to see her, because the last World Championship was a disaster for her. She didn't even have a podium finish. So hopefully she can get to maybe get a podium finish and maybe make another record for herself in the forthcoming World Championships.
Oh, talking about records, she's 28 years of age. Tuba David, you think she can be that Toby Amosun? Because most often than not, many people are not looking at the fact that age is coming by for her. When she won those tournaments and she was in the top form, everyone celebrated her. But right now, at this particular one, finished at a time of 12.45 seconds, and not so easy, or not so what's the word now, not the best of times to talk about. She still won it at Estrava ahead of the likes of Slovakia, Victoria Foster in this one, and it's that conversation. Can we get to that point where we get to see Toby Amosun be that Toby Amosun that we saw maybe 2 years ago?
I think she's still building consistency. I mean, just this year, we're also talking about keeping another record. That was at the Diamond League, competition in Paris, in terms of finishing a little bit faster than what she did late last year. So it definitely shows you some massive consistency from the lady. I mean, 3, 4 years ago, we never talked about Toby Amusan being one of the top athletes right here representing Nigeria. 3 years ago, she wasn't.
So
So,
maybe 2 years
or
ago we
maybe
did
two
a
years
lot,
ago, because
a lot.
she just started sparking the last 2 years in terms of breaking
No, I
records and
think she
keeping
was. It
records.
was a record that really put her on the
That's what I'm
limelight. But
saying.
getting to around a time of 12.12 seconds, yeah,
So
a mark at that time.
we never talked about Toby Amusan being up there in terms of a top Nigerian, athlete representing the country, and of course winning so much laurels and breaking records for the side. So I think her level of consistency and quality is just beginning to sparkle now at the age of 28. So I do not feel she would actually stop anytime
Just
soon.
beginning to sparkle at the age of 20.
28,
What
27.
many would say,
Last 2
maybe
years,
26,
basically.
26, there about 27.
So
but,
now,
but here's a conversation with her, not to
Yeah.
interrupt your thought, because we've seen it doesn't seem to be at that level any longer. We saw at the Olympics a struggle from Tobi Amosu. Nigeria was really hoping on her, but it never
so it's
happened.
basically about Nigerian contingent something. It wasn't just basically about Toby
No,
Amusan.
but she had a chance,
Olympics.
even at the World Championship. Exactly. When there were conversation about her not featuring, and afterwards she featured
Yeah.
those doping scenarios,
A whole
and we
lot-
said, okay.
a whole lot
And then
also.
she featured. Never really happened for her. Not getting to the podium. When you talk about top three, could be something. Not getting there. It's the same athlete that used to be number one.
Well, I think it's quite concerning now as well. Just like you've mentioned, some of the issues also, culminated to Toby Amusan not doing quite well in some competitions last year. You can recall what happened after the Paralympics last year, where there were lots of complaints about preparation for some of these athletes. So most times it could also be detrimental to their growth and their process ahead of a major competition. But I think Toby Amusan will do quite well. I mean, the very fact that she's been able to compete at top level with other top international stars shows that there have been massive progress for her this year. And I think I'm quite confident ahead of the championship to come later this year. She will definitely show, of course, why she's one of the top athletes representing Nigeria at international stage. The same could also be said with Nathaniel Ezekiel in the men's category, also breaking and keeping records as well. So Toby Amusan, for me, the top athlete for Nigeria, I still feel she's got lots of years to create that record and break records as well.
Yachts of J, yes, with what David says about Toby Amosu to create record and break records. We'll get to see how that happened, but we can wish her all the best. A good start for her at a Strava tournament, the meet in that direction. It would be something to build on. A 12.45 seconds for Toby Amosu, but it can be better than that. Everyone realizes it. Well, it's supposed to be the last conversation we're having, but I gotta take it up before we get to talk about football stories. It would be about basketball, a transfer story from the Mavericks. Well, Kyrie Irving, we hear, is intending to sign a 3-year deal of $119 million, a deal in that direction. And looking forward to it, I think today, a 9-time All-Star point guard, Kyrie Irving, will decide his $43 million player option and instead plans to sign a 3-year deal, $119 million contract to remain with the Dallas Mavericks. Well, funny thing, somehow, many people really look at Kyrie Irving. I think it's never been that big figure at the clubs he's played for, but at the Dallas Mavericks, he's been quite a phenomenal compared to his last franchise that he was. But extending the contract with Dallas Mavericks has been very good.
Good for the player, but I don't know how good it is for the franchise, because the Dallas Mavericks, for me, at this point, they should be looking at getting more quality players into that team, because Kyrie Irving cannot do it on his own. He's never been that top quality player who can consistently, contribute to the success of the team. So for me, I feel maybe good for Kyrie Irving, but not good enough for the Dallas Mavericks.
Which would David buy the same sentiment?
Well, I think it's basically about the options the man has got at the moment. Most times when you're into trade deals, you could also look at the quality of the franchise you'll be traded to, in terms of the ambition, in terms of the quality of the players.
Who comes for you?
Yeah, so I think that's why he's also weighed his options and said maybe it's better to stay at this particular franchise, the Mavericks. But I think he's a quality player. I take nothing away from him. I think the only problem I've got with Kyrie Irving over the years has been the ability to take teams he's played for on his shoulders. We've seen it happen with other superstars.
Yeah.
Whenever there's no half
always
persons.
the support superstar.
Absolutely. So you just see him, of course, sparkling in some matches, gather those number of points for the side, but not necessarily as the face of that franchise. But I think it's a good option at the end, staying with the Mavs, maybe next season bring in some quality legs to the side to help the side also prosper as well.
And well, in football, we'll say quality legs. In basketball, definitely quality hands. It has to be David. But we'll go on a quick break, and when we're back, the conversation continues in the world of football. Looking at football stories, the Club World Cup, the Super Falcons landing in Morocco, and others. Other conversation in that regard. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. It's Sports Central. My name is Blind. Welcome to Red Funny Tennis here with me for company. Ready for a talking point in the world of football. And football, here we go, as usual. Well, in the world of football, we'll begin with this conversation looking at the Super Falcons. We hear double landing in Morocco today. In fact, Casablanca to the capital of Morocco ahead of the 2024-2025 WAFCON tournament, which will be played from July 5th, is our conversation, to July 26th. The North African country we here. Well, 7 players, including American-based Rasi Sarashola, Michel Alozie, and Deborah Biodun, arrived in Casablanca on Tuesday already. Others are Chiwendu Ihezu, Folashade, Ejame Lucy, as well as Esther Okoronkwo. A new invitee is Chioma Okafor also. Remember Chioma Okafor, there's this conversation about Chioma Okafor. She was supposed to represent Malawi, and somehow, the mother is from Malawi, the father is from Nigeria. So somehow, Malawi, and she's even played for some Malawians club side before going to the US. And there's been lots of traction on social media from Malawians saying, why blaming the mother? The mother said she made the choice. So she's going to be a part of the Super Falcons at a WAFCON. And Coach Justin Madugo had 17 players available for the goalless draw against Portugal. So usually we say the Eagles have landed, but this time out, it would be the Falcons landing in Morocco today.
Well, I think it's quite good because some of the players who couldn't make it to the friendly match against Portugal were the first players to make it to Morocco, and I think they're waiting for all the players to arrive
Good
late Saturday.
intentions.
Good intentions, I must say, the likes of Asisa Joshua and Deborah being the rest of them as well. We're looking forward to the AFN. It's almost here, a few days before the start of it. We should be talking about next week and anticipating the final friendly game against Ghana before the start of the WAFCON. And just like we made mention a few days ago, for whatever reason, whatever tactics Justin Madugu has to test. It should be in the final game against Ghana. When you're going to the AFCON, or to the WAFCON rather, we do not have time for test running. And I think Madugu also knows that as well. So it is here, and we're looking forward to it.
It is here, and we're looking forward to it. Well, the game between the Super Falcons and Ghana will take place on the 29th of June, and that will be on Saturday. Thereabout, it will be on Saturday. We'll get to see what happens in that regard, the fine-tuning of the team, and the possibilities looking forward to the WAFCON. The Falcons are looking forward to win a 10th WAFCON. They're 9-time champions. Let's see what pans out in Morocco. Well, quickly we switch gear and talk about another Nigerian now. It would be Moses Simon changing gears, changing club from Nantes to Paris Football Club, Paris FC. Well, Paris FC, peculiar story with Paris FC would be that the Nigerian Super Falcons goalkeeper just recently left Chamaka, left the club. And we don't know where she's going to yet. But Simon Moses, while Chamaka is leaving the club, Simon Moses is going to the club from the mains team. They just got promoted to Ligue 1. Well, 14, a typical question I normally ask about this move. Good move moving from Nantes. The introductory part of it, he said he's helped them survive relegation back-to-back seasons, and now he's going to Paris FC. Is it not another mission of survival?
Well,
Moses Simon has been in the top five assist makers in the league on for 2 seasons now in a row, helping Nantes, and now he's gone to Paris FC. He's 29 years of age, winding up there towards the tail end of his career. So I would say moving to Paris FC, I hear they're doubling his salary, his weekly wages now. So 300,000 euros a month, not a week now, 300,000 euros a month. So I think it's good enough for the man, better than what he was earning at Nantes. So right now, goes to Paris FC. I get to see what he can do. Maybe help Paris FC become a mainstay in the French League on, and it's all to his own glory now, because he's going to be able to say, I've played for different clubs here and there, and then he can add Paris FC to his resume.
So that's about 75,000 euros a week for him. Moses Simon going to Paris FC. Good one anyway in terms of the financial benefit. 29-year-old winger did the announcement via social media with a heartfelt message to Nantes club, and they here accompanied with 75 video seconds. We can give you the video footage in that regard, but it's basically what it is. Well, I'm looking at his numbers: 21 appearances for Les Canaries and scoring 37 goals and providing 42 assists. 42 assists in 201 appearances for Nantes. Has been that conversation with him. And quickly, let's talk about the one that many people are looking forward to, the Club World Cup. Getting to an instance level. Let's start with a story that I enjoy the most. It's Auckland City. When Auckland City started a conversation at the Club World Cup, were invited to join a Club World Cup, many of the players had to take some kind of annual leave at where they were working because they're playing football during the day and going to work at evening. Sometimes during the day they're also working when they don't have training. But the conversation is, the first game they were beaten, how many 0? 10-0 by who? Bayern Munich. Second game, they were beaten 6-0. And many people said, Fonitina in particular said, why bring this team here? It's an embarrassment to the Club World Cup. But yesterday, the pool is stunning against Boca Junior, top side in Argentina, playing a 1-0 draw. After an own goal first, they scored. Interesting. Fonitina, good for football, despite not qualifying, but somewhat somehow. This is such a good result for the amateur side.
Fairy tale result for them, and good enough for them now. They've entered. Just like that, one thing I like about this Club World Cup now, it's starting to look like a real World Cup. We have teams. You remember the last World Cup where we had Belgium? I think against a particular team, they trashed that team 6-1. And when the team scored that only goal, you see the celebrations in the crowd as if they were winning the match. So that's the only thing about games like this. But at the end of it, I would say not good enough for football, because how many people would pay to watch Auckland City play football? You see the quality of football they bring to the pitch. Not good enough.
Well, you can watch other teams anyway play football. No problem.
Out to Auckland City, maybe good for them now. They've put the team on the map. Maybe next Club World Cup that comes, maybe they'll have the money to get actual players to sign for them.
Yeah, actually, because when you participate in a Club World Cup as a team, you get about $19.24 million. That's huge amount of money. I still cry for Nigerian teams who are not participating in this one. Because whether you're beaten or not, first you have this whooping sum of money. It can change the fortune of that club side. But whatever it is good for football, because you look at the first game, they lost 10-0, second game, they lost 6-0. And many people were thinking Boca Juniors were going to whitewash them in this one. It never happened. They're able to pull that result. Good progression. But let's get to talk about other things. The Benfica defeated Bayern Munich, because the game for Boca Juniors, they were looking forward to this game, hoping that Bayern Munich gets to beat Benfica. But Benfica defeated Bayern Munich 1-0 at the Club World Cup. Now they're topping the group, Group C, and Bayern Munich had already qualified. And the coach of the side had made about 7 changes to the team that played the last game for them.
Good for Benfica, finishing group winners in that particular group. And for Bayern Munich, good for them as well. They already qualified, so it was more like a dead rubber game for them, trying to give all the players who haven't really played in the tournament some chances to play against Benfica. But unfortunately, Botafogo has to go home due to the fact that the result did
Boca Juniors,
rather, they have to return home due to the fact that the result didn't go in their favor. Now we're looking forward to the last 16 of the competition. It becomes even more exciting now, because those amateur teams were playing against the group stages,
absolutely,
there are no more. So you have to face top opponent, top club sides with good players, quality players. Just like we're looking at the game between Chelsea and Benfica in the last 16. It becomes interesting. and I'm waiting to see the knockout phase.
Waiting to see the knockout phase. We'll get to talk about the knockout phase soon. Let's talk about Chelsea Football Club. Somewhat somehow, Chelsea will be facing Benfica after finishing second in the group behind Flamengo's Group D it is. But Liam Delap scored his first goal for Chelsea, and two other players now also scoring in this one. Makes all the difference. Enzo Maresca, the coach, Tosin, scoring the opener for him, and Delap scoring, and George, Tariq George scoring the last one a few minutes to the end of the game. But Chelsea Football Club got the better of that opponent in the round of 16, somewhat somehow qualifying to the next round for tonight.
They had to get this one. I was more, interested and intrigued by the starting lineup. We had Christopher Nkunku, who is highly linked with the move away from Chelsea this particular summer. Manchester United reportedly going all out for Christopher Nkunku, which I still don't understand the rationale behind that particular move. But I saw the lineup.
I sure know you wouldn't.
Christopher Nkunku and Dewsbury Hall all started the game. I was wondering, why is it so? Is it that the coach is beginning to, lose faith in the likes of Cole Palmer because he was on the bench for this particular game?
He just had to make changes anyway.
Oh, come on. A very important game. It was a win or you get out of the competition. And Chelsea, the coach Enzo Maresca decided to drop an important guy like Cole
I think
Palmer.
Chelsea needed a draw to qualify for it.
Well,
that's it.
They needed an important result.
Oh.
If Esperance had got the win, it would have been a different story.
Well, right now we're looking at they're playing against Esperance of Tunisia. Let's look at African side in this one. Yes, I know there are a few African sides that are still yet to play Mamelodi Sundowns. They seem to be the only flag left for Africa. If they beat Fluminense, the Brazilian side, we know how difficult it could be. They might just qualify. But African side so far, yes, they're getting the big money in the back, but their performance so far this competition.
Well, I think for me, I would say it's fair enough. Not disappointing because I did not expect the African side to maybe go to the last 16. Because I'm also looking at the very fact that in as much as we're also talking about the likes of Akali, who's been dominating Africa, and the likes of Mamelodi Sundowns in recent times, African football is still developing as well as regards what we've seen from other continents. I mean, Brazil side, we've seen how this ended up actually being European sides. The same thing could also be said for them. Aside of the amateur sides from the other confederation, we can talk about South America and European club sides doing better at the FIFA Club World Cup. I think what it does now for the African side is exposure now to quality, opponent quality football. Even the stadiums are also playing this footballs, against this opponent. So I think the level of exposure now would also maybe in turn help them, going back to their continent to play, football. And I think maybe the next FIFA Club World Cup would actually see an African side do well. For Akali, I was actually banking on them to go as far as possible in the competition, but unfortunately, they have been knocked out. So next competition could also be good for African sides.
Our next competition could be good for African side. Other games that took place at the Club World Cup was Los Angeles Football Club against Flamengos. And this one ended 1-1. Flamengos had already qualified and they just consolidated at the top of the group ahead of Bayern Munich. And meanwhile, Dortmund will face Ulsan Football Club in today's encounter by 8 p.m. Mamelodi Sundowns of South Africa against Fluminense of Brazil. Afterwards, we'll have tomorrow Urawa Reds against Monterrey and Inter Milan against River Plate. Early hours of the morning, Juventus, Manchester City. It will be another blockbuster tomorrow. And why that? Casablanca against AFN. We're going to talk about all of the rest tomorrow. A brief look at the quarterfinal setup. The teams that have qualified for the round of 16 rather. We're having Palmeiras against Botafogo and Benfica against Chelsea. And we're talking about Paris Saint-Germain against Inter Miami of Lionel Messi being playing in that team, and Flamengos against Bayern Munich. Top cracker. In the coming days, guys, we'll get to talk about them. One last story before we close and maybe hit a transfer market. It would be that the French giant Lyon has been relegated to League 2 over financial issues. According to information we heard from the National Controlling and Management Body in French football, Lyon are owing about, as at the last check, about 150 million euros indebted, and they've not been able to make the payments. And somehow, they were given that leisure time after the provisional relegation threat. Last year, November 15, thereabout. So a meeting was done. John Textor, the owner of the club and the sporting director, spoke, but it didn't make sense to the body. And they've been relegated. They can still appeal on it, but it's basically the stand. A shocker for Lyon Football Club to League 2.
So unfortunate because the man still has a stake at Crystal Palace. So I do not know how Crystal Palace is surviving, and Lyon are also struggling at the moment. He's on
Yeah,
over
he's got
40
a stake
something.
at Botafogo too, a
Absolutely.
Brazilian club.
So there have been talks about him selling some stakes at Crystal
Hmm.
Palace. And last as on Monday, there were talks about him confirming selling his 45% stake at Crystal Palace. Maybe that could also help him in turn
All right.
clear some debts and return back to League One.
And return back to League One. We hear Paul Pogba is joining Monaco. How many years deal? 3 years deal it is. Exciting for 2 years deal. Exciting for him until 2027. Chelsea Nicholas Jackson has got a 2-match ban for the red card he received at the Club World Cup. And Luka Modric agreed to sign for AC Milan after Club World Cup in Barcelona to return to Spotify Camp Nou on August 10th. Clubs have confirmed this. Chelsea closing for Borussia Dortmund, Jimmy Gayton. We hear about 60 million euros in that direction. And Athletic Madrid are reaching a deal for U.S. men's national team, Johnny Cardoso. It will be a conversation for tomorrow. But here we draw the curtain in today's edition of Sports Central. Thank you for being a part of it. My name is Blind Game. Thank you guys for tuning in Fonitina and making it with me.
A pleasure as always.
A pleasure always. Tomorrow is another day. We'll be back.